Hey YouTube, this is Kobe. I have something brewing up in my spirit that I feel that I have to share. And it hasn't been in there long so it can be matured, and refined. But I like to keep these videos short and straight to the point. I can't pat a cake with you any longer. I'm going to be blunt, straightforward. We see the time that we're in. I'm going to label this: you can have a high calling in your life, and you can be replaced. And this is very, very scary. What I see, what's happening now, what God's doing with me and others, that God is drawing us closer to Himself, and yet is refining us if we allow Him to. We have a choice. We have free will. And I'm going to list 3 examples of people who have been ordained by God, and yet it was given to another. I don't believe I ever heard this sermon before in a church or anything. So maybe you've been prophesied over, or you saw dreams that you was going to be a powerful man or woman of God, and you was going to do these mighty things, right? These miracles and healings and revivals, and maybe you get to the point it doesn't happen, and you wonder why. And the question is going to be, was you following your will and your plans and not God's? Because God will find another. And that is scary, people. 3 examples, okay? Was not Eli a prophet over Israel? Was he not anointed? And yet he was replaced by a child. He didn't correct his 2 sons, what they were doing in the temple. And then he stopped speaking to Eli. And then later on, he was replaced by a boy. And now think about King Saul, was ordained, anointed, and yet he started doing his will, what he wanted to do, instead of what God wanted him to do. He also stopped hearing from God. He consults a witch. And that was the last straw. He was replaced by King David. And you can read those examples in the Old Testament. I'm going to talk about a guy in the New Testament named Judas. This man, he was in the circle. Not the inner circle, but he was still in the circle. He saw things, he heard things, he witnessed things. He even done some miracles himself. He was a part of it. And yet his heart wasn't right. And he was replaced. And you can find it in Acts chapter 1, verse 17. This is the 15:9 Geneva says, "For he," being referring to Judas, "was numbered with us and have obtained fellowship in this ministration." Judas was ordained. In the 1611 King James says that he obtained part of this ministry. Verse 20, talking about the prophecies that King David in the book of Psalms spoke of this man. I want to focus on verse 24. "And they prayed and said, Thou, Lord, which knowest the hearts of all men." It was the heart, people. Judas' heart wasn't right. Show us whether these two men you have chosen, that he may take part of his ministry and apostleship. That was replacing Judas, from which Judas by transgression fell, that he might go to his own place. And the lot fell on Matthias. I hope I said that right. You can be replaced by another. I read the scriptures literal, and I see a lot of promises, and some promises have conditions on them. If you love me, those who love me will keep my commandments. Don't tell me you love God, you ain't keeping his commandments, people. And you can go on down the list. Seek ye first. But if you don't seek ye first, and all these things won't be added to you. The word, James says, be doers of the word, not hearers only. Please get your heart right with God. Please seek him above everything else. Allow him to clean you up and walk in your ministry, your purpose God has for you. I know there's a lot of watered down gospel these days. And people imply that you can have God and have the world. And I tell you, no, you must choose. I do love you. Keep up the faith. Bless you. Bye.